You have arrived at Planet Who Doesn't Have a Podcast.
Welcome to Who Doesn't Have a Podcast, where you join us to reminisce on the finale of the war between the land and the sea.
Another finale.
Another finale. I don't know about you guys, I feel like it's just come around incredibly quickly. It's probably helped that we've been pumping out episodes each week. And I think it's probably best before we jump into all things finale. With you, Jerome, you binge-watched all of them back to back.
Yeah.
So episodes 1 to 4, from your point of view, what do you think?
So I binge-watched episodes 1 to 4 yesterday. Not quite back to back. I watched 2 in the morning back to back. So kind of like I did episode 1 and 2 together. And
2
then
in the
3 and 4
morning,
together.
Went for a
so
dump, 3
kind
and 4.
of maybe in a sort of slightly similar vein. And then I watched episode 5 today. But I can start with the first 4. I think I have only just completed it as of about 20 minutes ago. But I think my overriding feeling is I thought it was pretty good. Like, I enjoyed it for what it was. I think I've seen a lot of people kind of ring it to Children of Earth, the sort of success of Children of Earth. I think that was so I think that was so good in terms of its narrative and storytelling and kind of visiting a darker part of the Doctor Who universe. But I thought this was pretty good. I thought it had good moments. I thought it had moments that, showed some interesting character development. I'm sure we'll come on to specifics later. But for me, like, I was really glad to see Jenna Redgrave get more screen time as Kate Lethbridge-Stewart. I thought her development is really interesting, especially going off the very final scene, which again I'll hold off for the minute. But just like there were several moments through her arc that really have changed her, and I think will be influential for like her future in Doctor Who. Kind of where does she go from here? Because from episode 1 to episode 5, she's not the same character. Like, she's a completely different version of that character, and I think that will be really interesting to see how that plays out. But more on the storyline, I thought it was an interesting concept. I thought it was a fresh concept. I do feel like the last 2 series of Doctor Who have been tricky to navigate at times, and I think the finales in particular have been letdowns, if I'm completely honest, for me anyways, watching it as a personal viewer. And I thought that this was at least kind of fresh, and it asked different questions. It had a different concept. Like, I thought the way they pitched the sort of forces against each other was good. The way it kind of tested UNIT was good. I really enjoyed the first 2 episodes. And I thought episode 3 was good, but it did start to go like this for me as the series went on. But I did think, like, it started strongly, and I thought the start of episode 5 was strongly. I particularly enjoyed the dark humour of being like, you eat fish, they're our family, why can't we eat dogs? Like, there was some nice, like, sort of dark humour kind of levelled through it. But on the whole, like, I enjoyed it. Like, I enjoyed it for what it was. And I definitely wouldn't, like, kick it around a bit, because I think there was I don't know how you felt about it, but I was worried. I was kind of lacking in motivation going into this, going, after what we've had with the last 2 series, like, is this just going to be more of the same, or is it going to be a bit, I didn't know if I kind of had it in me to sort of even begin. But I'm glad I did, because it definitely offered something new to the table. So I was happy with that. But I'll leave it there. What did you boys think before we go into like more specifics?
Well, I think I completely agree with what you said for the most part. I think it was just nice to have a fresh perspective on the Whoniverse and to explore something that, Russell T Davies, as we mentioned last week, he doesn't shy away from a lot of sort of commentary of kind of social and like political stuff, in particular like the environment in this case. It was clear it had like an agenda to it, but I think we said as well, didn't we, last week, right from the start, and only because I've watched back a couple of the Christmas specials from the very beginning of the RTD era, there's quite a weight to those characters. It's like it doesn't, whereas like the last 2 series of Who have kind of almost been a bit belittling, when they've kind of made you feel a bit like a kid, and like, you've got to have your hand held through all of it, and it's kind of very brightly coloured and fancy and everything's wonderful. there's a lot of emotional weight to those early episodes of Russell T Davies, particularly Christmas specials. And I think seeing a show or a spin-off of a show, particularly after 2 series of a show where we've not had any of that, and it's been very gritty at points. I think, like you were saying as well, Jerome, a lot of the performances, particularly Russell Tovey, I think this is one of his best performances as an actor. I think that it was such a well-written character, and I feel like that's what made this show, for the most part, really good, is the fact that it was back to that era where Russell T Davies, rather than putting the story and the monsters first, it was the character, it was the emotion. You had empathy, you had care for these people before the world started going upside down, topsy-turvy around them. And I think in a similar vein as well, I think the premise is absolutely brilliant. I think those first few episodes we were talking about the production value, because I think, and sort of joking, but this might be the last time we see Doctor Who look absolutely stunning. I mean, after that, what was it called? Like the Plastic Storm?
Plastic Apocalypse.
The Plastic Apocalypse, thank you. So after the Plastic Apocalypse, but we were saying in that, like the destruction amongst London and New York, it's like seeing Manhattan just full of junk, and like the Titanic kind of like being pulled through, it finally making its voyage back. Just little things like that. I absolutely love, because it's just that like very heavy hitting, but occasionally just a bit daft kind of side of things, and that's what made for me Russell T Davies such a fantastic writer and just a natural link for this show. I just thought it really worked well, and then I think episodes 3 and 4, certain creative decisions maybe affected the way the series ran, and I think,
what creative decisions were they, Dan?
It's very difficult to come to mind, but I think, I don't know whether it's one of those shows and whether you guys feel the same, where because now we've had a bit of time for the dust to settle with Who, it's almost felt like Russell T Davies once again has had big ideas. He's had like it's such a fantastic concept, and something really good to explore, bringing back a Doctor Who character from, what was it, the 60s 70s, Sea Devils. Yeah
I think that I like how I've become like the resident historian.
Well, you are.
I think their first appearance was with John Pertwee,
okay,
the third Doctor, in definitely 70s. I'd say early 70s, I reckon.
So we're seeing it
because I don't think they've reoccurred enough to be like a sort of semi-legendary villain, I would say. But because like the first time they ever appeared, it was like they appeared out of the sea, and like one of the kind of side characters like refers to them as the Sea Devils, because they don't understand what these creatures are coming up from the sea. But I imagine it was quite like shocking for an audience back then to see these like fish creatures like coming out of the sea. And I think it was the first episode or the second episode. Something I would just relate to quickly, which I'm sure you boys have already covered, but really, really loved the use of tension, particularly in the first 2 episodes. Especially with when they were on the beach, right on the coastline, where all of them were like sort of starting to appear, and it's like, oh, it's not just one, it's like hundreds of them. And it was a case of like, it was the bit where they're going, agreed, pause, agreed. Like I just thought the tension was like, it was classic Who, it was really, really well done. I also the bit with as they're going down to the bottom of the ocean, and just that 10-minute segment, which didn't feel very Doctor Who, but I just enjoyed it as TV. Like, I really enjoyed, there it is.
Oh,
there's the original.
That is one hell of a contrast from the past, isn't it?
Yeah. Although, actually, you can, to be fair, you can see like slight similarities in like the obviously far more high-tech, more CGI versions today, but you can kind of see a throwback to the original design, which I think is cool. But yeah, I just thought that whole segment, I think it was episode 3, is it The Deep? That when they're going down to the floor, the ocean floor, that was genuinely, I think that was possibly the best scene for me. I just thought that was so well done.
Everything. I think that sense, you felt claustrophobic watching it as you made a descent. The darkness, the total sense of uncertainty, the panic.
And just the realistic, like, sorry to cut in there, but just the realistic kind of reactions of like having the old boy, or Ted, who, you know, was so kind of like, he was.
We had Tim, we had Todd.
Yeah, but it was just to see their like contrast of being like super calm, the one who was like the wise kind of, you know, patriot getting them through, to just utterly terrified. And I was like, that's so realistic, because you've got nothing to compare against. You know, that sort of environment, there's nothing, unless you've been trained as an astronaut for NASA, like there's nothing that you can. So no, just, yeah, very, very good, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is kind of where the show pretty much peaked. And I think, to be fair, even the end of the episode where everything explodes and, you know, it all starts to fall apart, figuratively and literally. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, it has been a really good... No, that was the point. So with... it's almost kind of felt like with this show, it's suffered the similar problem as the main show has, whereby Russell T Davies has had big ideas. He's had, right, here's a concept, we're going to run with this. Amazing. Bring back the Sea Devils. It's to do with climate change, the environment, all that kind of stuff. And then it's almost like we get to the final episode and he's like, okay, so we've got this idea and this is going to happen. And he just checks his watch and goes, Christ, we've got 15 minutes. How do we wrap this up? And I feel like, as we go and explore it in a minute, I feel like it's a big idea. The execution started off very well, but then as a kind of quick, sudden, oh God, we need to wrap things up, it kind of takes a very weird turn and you kind of leave it. I mean, I've finished it kind of feeling a bit underwhelmed. I can see what they will... I mean, we'll go into this in a minute, but I feel like it... I feel like the landing could have been... I feel like the way things ended, it could have been done a lot better and more effectively than it was. I think the first half of the episode was strong, and then it just kind of went off a bit like a whoopee cushion.
Are you trying to say this ocean-related Doctor Who story jumped the shark?
Abso-frigging-lutely, my friend. Abso-frigging-lutely. And you made the very good point with the very top of the episodes about... I mean, I was horrified because I'm a dog lover, but the fact that the fish ate the dogs, what in the frigging hell is going on here? And then their response was, well, you eat us, so we eat pets. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. I've made a note of that.
It's interesting. Yeah, I know. I totally get what you mean, and I agree with it. I think, like, well, put it this way. I think, like, I look at this in two ways. I look at it in the wider Doctor Who universe, and I look at it for what it was. Like, I'm you boys might be the same way about this, or maybe not. But like, I'm just relieved there were no silly cameos or kind of, you know, like surprise, you know, like sort of things. Like I did see one spoiler at one point, not a spoiler, but I saw something online before I watched the final episode that mentioned the Silurians, and I was like, oh dear God, don't bring them into it. Do you know what, as a kind of like, we're going to make this like a triage, and it's kind of like actually like we're going to bring them to our aid and stuff, and I was just really worried about that. But I mean, I totally understand like the Doctor references, which I think are fine, but I think anything more than that, because it could have been so easy to bring back David Tennant again, you know, in some capacity as his 14th version. I'm sure he will, but it's just like I'm glad they avoided that. Because while I agree with you, Mike, that it's like, why should we care about this? Where does it go? It at least kind of contained itself in its own story. And for me, gave an idea of like, there's a line towards the end of the final episode where I think Kate's talking about the Doctor and she's like, I'm here to save, like, I'll save the human race, but I'm not here to shape it. And that's kind of more under sort of UNIT's remit. And it kind of gives me a better idea of UNIT and how UNIT operate in the universe without just being in Doctor episodes, as in like what is UNIT's actual understanding. I think there was a really interesting moment where, I think it was in like episode 3, where we got a really brief glimpse into the Black Archive, where Barclay's looking at stuff on his tablet and he's looking at different things in the Black Archive, and I was like, oh, this could be really interesting, because there's been so many theories about, you know, like, what's in the box? What's in the UNIT box? Like, and all of this. And is it Missy? Is it all of these things? And it would be really interesting. Yeah.
He did. He really did.
But it was like, I think there's scope maybe to explore like the Black Archive and UNIT. And while I agree with you, I don't think this is going to get sequel. I don't think this is going to be commissioned in any sort of way. Because actually, I think I look at the Barkley and Salt story, and I'm like, cool, that's what it was. It was like a weird political love story that doesn't, like, you've explained it. It doesn't need to go any further. You don't need to bring these two characters back. They can just go off and live their new life. Like, that doesn't need to be expanded upon. What I think is interesting is where we're left with Kate. Because Kate is the direct link back to the Doctor and also to future unit focus episodes. So while I think there won't be a sequel to the war between the land and the sea anytime soon, I could see the potential for unit spin-offs. But ultimately, like, it depends. And for me, like, thinking about the Disney deal just quickly, it really depends. For me, it's always been a case of how committed are the BBC to Doctor Who rather than Disney, because Disney gives you the money, right? Disney gives you the means to kind of do the amazing, spectacular kind of surface level stuff. But the actual passion and drive and storytelling for the show, that's all on the BBC. It's always been on the BBC. And I feel like in terms of building upon that narrative or that scale of universe, because at the end of the day, the BBC did Torchwood, they did the Sarah Jane Adventures, they did Class, they did like all of the audiobooks and all of that material. That's always been the BBC. It was just a case of funding and how much you could like spectacularize that. But in terms of actually creating those stories, the means are still there. I just think you need people at the BBC and in the Doctor Who team who are just passionate enough to drive this forward and to tell these stories. And I think, like, there's a lot going on with the lore. There's a lot going on with timelines per se, and multiple doctors and what do we do with them all and everything. But at the heart, I think the best way forward is always good storytelling. And if you've got good storytelling, I think it will be fine. But
it's really interesting you make that point with... Go on.
I feel like I know what this is going to be.
No, I was going to say, it was interesting that you mentioned with like the BBC and kind of their responsibility with the show, because I'm fairly sure, didn't Russell T Davies kind of like agree it was Bad Wolf Productions, so it would kind of like, he would kind of not solo run it, but like it would be kind of separate from the BBC. So it's almost like even at the very start of this reboot and the Disney Plus deal, it's almost like the BBC have kind of taken a step back from the responsibility of the show, which they haven't done before. But like you say, I think it's a very good point to make. Is it something that the BBC is a top priority? Because in the last few years, it's been completely evident, as we've mentioned time and time again, that Disney have never really prioritised nor really known how to promote it or how to market it.
I think this goes both ways, though, because I think like Disney, yeah, all right, Disney clearly had no interest, right? And, they probably wanted more merchandising out of it, and they wanted more plush toys, and they wanted more things, I'm guessing. And
the thing is with that, you don't know if there were complications behind the scenes either, because that might have been the plan, but then you might have had some purists maybe to say, well, that's not the Doctor Who thing. It's maybe caused a bit of a rift. We don't really know. It's all speculation.
And I'm sure as well, it's probably annoyed people at the BBC. The whole, like, Disney not doing... And I think as well, like, it won't just be a case of, Disney have pulled out. It might also have been the BBC going, do you know what? This is not working for us. And we, this is one of our flagship shows. This is one of our, like, big, traditionally one of our biggest kind of pullers in of millions of viewers.
Sake.
Very good. You've nailed it there, mate.
For the benefit of the listeners, it was a shot of Kate pointing a gun at the runner.
It was Kate's shot. Yeah. But yeah, like maybe people at the BBC were annoyed, and they also kind of were like, look, this isn't working. It's one of our flagship shows. We want episodes to be out more regularly. We want to have kind of like the ability to build on these stories and not just kind of, obviously, like we're all the gap has killed it. It's hurt it so much, massively. Because and with this show as well. Because I know it's not coming out on Disney Plus till next year, is it? But
well, it's interesting you say that, Jerome, because as of the final episode going out, Disney still haven't confirmed a launch date for the rest of the world, and there's some rumor that because of the poor performance of this with how Who was. That Disney Plus may well just drop it entirely and just go, do you know what, it's not even worth uploading onto our streaming service.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if it doesn't run on Disney, put it that way.
Yeah.
It would not surprise me in the slightest, because, I mean, words are one thing, but their actions up until this point would suggest that it's not going to happen, is it?
I don't think it will.
You know.
It'll be,
or maybe it
like,
will, and it will be very quietly put on there.
It'll be quietly put on, and then, like they've done in the past with some other films and series, it'll just be very quietly discontinued. I was just thinking, I just made a couple of points in this one. I just think throughout this, and particularly this episode, and don't get me wrong, I think apart from the ending, maybe like the last 5 or 10 minutes, really did enjoy this episode. It had a lot going on. It was properly sort of arrow speared in the right direction of where I was hoping it would go. I just love the fallout of Barclay and kind of like the knock-on effect. There's like the negative response from the public. So like if he's arrested, there'll be people complaining about it. If he's not, and if he's released, there'll be people complaining about that as well. The fact he's having to scan his own food, and that cruel trick with the hotel staff giving fish fingers, which I thought was a nice reference to a previous episode where he tried to. No, it's never mind. Also, and I don't know whether any of you guys noticed this, how weirdly clean was London. There was a bit where it's like a shot over the bridge, and London was suddenly without any trash.
There's clearly a magic money tree when there needs to be.
I tell you what, he gets a lot of stick, but Sadiq Khan, he's recycling to a whole new level. I've got to give him that.
Yeah, well done, Sadiq.
I really, 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 really liked Kate's confrontation with the Prime Minister about severance. I thought that scene was electric.
Did anyone else, sorry, just because you've brought him up, did anyone else, I couldn't stop watching every scene with him and going, that's the guy from the thick of it. Did anyone else get that?
Was that him?
He plays the other spin doctor opposed to Malcolm Tucker for
my God, he is.
for the opposition. And it was really annoying because I was like, no, just watch the story, enjoy it. And I was like, it's the guy from the thick of it.
Oh, of course
every
it was.
time. But yeah, no, sorry, but you're right, Dan. That scene with the confrontation, it's very powerful. Kind of, it was nice as well because it kind of, the power shifted constantly between the two of them, and like it definitely left it at a moment where you felt Kate was like, that was it, really kind of had taken the carpet had been swept from beneath her, and then like to turn it back on him like she did. Yeah, really, like, yeah.
Oh, it was. Yeah.
Just a question on that, and I'm not trying to make this about the Doctor because it's not a show directly linked to the Doctor, but do you think Kate's actions have been influenced by the Doctor? As in, like, the recent... I mean, if you look at Nshuti's incarnation, look at David's latest incarnation, she's worked with a few of them, I think. Did she work with... Yeah, she worked with Jodie Whittaker. She worked with the 13th, didn't she? And Peter Capaldi. She worked with a few of them. Yeah, you're right, I think. Yeah. She's been in it. I mean, when you think of it like that, she's probably like deserving of her own show, to be fair. Like, she's been a long running character, like, you know, kind of like similar to sort of like Alex Kingston as River Song, sort of length, you know, but it doesn't always feel that way, especially with the gaps again in the show. It like sometimes but she, no, I think she was really good, but I was just interested, some of the more darker moments, like the bit with the therapist, and I was just wondering, because you've seen the Doctor at points be manipulative, you know, with people in order to kind of get the right result, but you kind of question the means to get there. And it was like, again, you get the impression that everything Kate's trying to do is in aid to try and achieve, like, you know, the better result. But the means are definitely questionable. I mean, there was a point where, like, she pulled the gun out at the end, and I was like, do you know what? Fucking right. Like, I'm sick of this shit. Fucking pick it up. Fucking pick it up. I mean, some people say she's still screaming, pick it up on that beach now. But, like, just like, I got it. I totally got, I believed her in that moment, and I was like, yeah, fucking, do you know what? Fuck this guy. But then you also go, like, you've gone from 0 to 100. You've just pulled a gun out on a member of the public who's literally running. Yeah,
I wonder whether that, because it's just clicked now, I wonder whether that's another bit of social commentary. Because you look at, obviously, like, let's say, for example, the pandemic, for argument's sake. We spend 2 years learning to wash our hands, to, like, look after ourselves and all this kind of stuff. Society goes back to normal. Everything just, like, kicks off again. But there's a lot of that thing where people will call people out, and particularly like the whole world. You can't just be completely invisible to it. The whole world has just gone through a near extinction level situation, and then you just have some prick on the beach throwing a bottle as if nothing happened the last 2 years. I wonder if there's some kind of like reference to society as well as the fact that, you know, once the danger's over, everyone just kind of reverts back to being a bit selfish. Because it's only as you were mentioning end, Jerome, I just thought, oh Christ, maybe it's that. Because I find myself in situations like that. If I feel like there's a bit of an injustice, or I get so peeved off when, so I go to the bathroom and like someone doesn't wash their hands, and I just think, we spent 2 years singing happy birthday to ourselves and like learning how to like have basic hygiene to stop a pandemic, and then here you are just peeing on your hands in a urinal and touching everything as if nothing ever changed from 2019. Yeah, very Russell T Davies. Yeah. Very, very clever.
And I do think, just on that note as well, like while there have been the social commentaries that there have been, like I feel like it's fine when the story is fleshed out. Yeah. I think sometimes like things have been so on the nose and so kind of like, do you know what? Do you get it that it can infuriate people? But I feel like in this mini-series, it was just allowed to like flesh out in a more, I don't know, just a way that was more, that you could just like,
it's more nuanced.
It's more nuanced, yeah.
Yeah.
And so like I could sort of be on board with it a bit more in this mini-series. I thought it was just done in a slightly more palpable way.
And this is the same with, because I've mentioned this earlier on in an episode or two ago. It's like this like shows years and years. It's a sin. This is Russell T Davies in a nutshell. He does this where it is not. It's different with Who, because it was kind of like I'm making this point. Here I am making this point. Whereas with these shows, and I include The War Between the Land and the Sea as well, it's a very nuanced reference to it. So that's, I mean, if you're switched on in that sense, you kind of go satire or whatever else. But then anyone else would just watch it, you know, and not really take anything on board. But I absolutely, there was, I mean, one more bit, because I'm having to jump back in my own head a second, when Barclay's sitting down with his ex-wife in the pub, and they're talking about how they're going to be living in safety in kind of like sort of segregated community, like once all the polar ice caps melt, because the Homo aqua are melting all that. Another good point there as well. That point where she's kind of struggling or starting to come to terms with the understanding of him falling in love with Salt, and his kind of breakdown where, you know, he's explain how he leaves the hotel, he goes to the beach, he's screaming her name at night. I got really emotional watching that, because I was like, Christ, this is someone that, you know, he's been saved from the jaws of death by her. Obviously, they've fallen in love in, you know, very unique ways, but I suppose in a situation like that, you know, you're going to be incredibly grateful to the person that saves you. But I just thought he was absolutely phenomenal in that scene. And there's been so many standout moments throughout the series where Russell Tovey, and I think he's a criminally underrated actor. Obviously, he's collaborated with Russell T Davies. We've seen him in Who before. We've seen him in plenty of other shows of Russell's. But I mean, hats off to him. Obviously, we talk about a lot of the other actors as well. But I think for me, he was really in a league of his own. He was phenomenal in this episode. It's such a captivating performance.
He was, but
no. Yeah.
Look, he's probably going to appear as the Doctor in Christmas 2026, along with David Tennant, along with Billy Piper, along with Barney the dinosaur. There's probably going to be a lot of people in the running.
You'll have David Tennant and Billy Piper with a net trying to fish him out of the Atlantic, going, "Come on."
Do you know what? There was someone
again.
There was someone drew a link recently to, you know, the Rowan Atkinson comedy Red Nose Day Doctor Who short they did that was like 10 minutes long, and it's all these famous actors playing the Doctor. They were like, did we ever think we'd be in a reality where that actually might be the storyline for 2026 Christmas special? Like that actually, there's a solid like reasoning that could be exactly what happens. But yeah, it was interesting. I thought most of the performances were like really, really good. Yeah. I thought Gugu and Bartha Raw was really, really good as Salt. Really captivating. Both of them. Very. I think that was what's great. Both leads were really captivating. And especially when you've got scenes that are just in like political discussion like they are, you've got to be like those scenes were written really well, I thought, but that they've got to be captivating. Otherwise, it's just people standing in a room talking, and that can get old real quick. And I thought the two of them were like really good. And I you know, people will obviously like question the nature of the relationship and all this, but I thought, you know what, if you cast all that aside and just treat it as a love story and the development between two characters, I thought the journey was pretty good. But like, what was it? Who was the only one that slightly caught me out is the guy who plays General Austin. I can't remember his surname, but General Austin. Yeah, I thought he was good, actually. I thought he was really good, as in I thought he just like, I saw him and I was like, General, instantly. But his American accent just sounded like, but I don't know if it's just because I've heard him in so many things, like so many audiobooks and everything, but it was almost like, it was like an audiobook version of him. It was just slightly, and that's not, I don't mean that as a criticism, it was just weird. It was like listening, like you'd watch characters and then you'd watch him and just be like, I feel like I'm listening to an audiobook. Like, I don't know, it was very strange. But I thought he was very good. Like, he just walked on and was like, boom, like General. Yeah. Like, he didn't have to overplay it or anything, he just was. And I thought his performance was really good. Which
in itself is a sign of good character building, character writing. And that's why I had such high hopes. I mean, and they were thankfully executed really well in this series, but... yeah. Also, solid. You've probably talked about this, but just quickly, killing off so many characters in one episode at the end of the bomb. Yeah. How did that go down with you guys? Go on. Yeah. Is it Christoph?
Are you talking perhaps about Colonel Abraham? Yeah. I've got two questions for you, Mike. First question is, who made the mural? And question B is, why is it missing? No. But it's a good. I don't know. It was a strange one, that. But I think like, because they're not all unit related either. Otherwise, you could maybe make a unit pattern. Yeah.
Ted.
Oh,
I got it right.
Some of the filming in that, actually, I think it was episode 3 with going down to the floor bed, and also there was a scene between the two lead characters, between Barclay and Saul, where the camera was just on both of them. They were both facing each other like that. And it was just really good. Really, really effective, like, filmmaking. And yeah, honestly, like, this series had lots of good moments, I thought. It was, like, really refreshing to see just lots of, like, good moments. And yeah, there were some slip-ups, but on the whole, like, it was pretty enjoyable. I felt like episode 5 for me was the weakest, purely because I just felt it was just undercooked. As in, like, it just felt like it was kind of having to sort of kind of tie all these things together, and I just felt like the whole Severance thing was woefully underplayed. I just felt like it was one of those things, and you guys, you might disagree with that, and that's totally fine. I just felt like it was, I just didn't have that kind of impact that I was hoping for. It is how it left me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was such a haunting vision as well. I think that was another one, like those shots where you just seen them like bobbing along in the Thames and all around the world, and seeing how, like you said, it ultimately was crazy. And I think what was interesting as well was that, you know, although in fact, what I really liked, and that was another bit I was going to mention, was although we don't specifically get a finger point moment saying, it was you that did this is on you, what we saw was the message from Salt that water will find a way. And we see those brief glimpses of how they get their comeuppance. So we see the Prime Minister. I get the feeling that was a flash forward. That's what I took away. It's almost like water will find a way. Yeah. With the PM, it was in the shower, where it was just like spewing out water. And then with the French, help me, Jerome, it was the French. What was her position?
She was like she was another general, I think.
Yeah. So the French and American general drowning in the car, I thought was such haunting images, and that gave me a bit of like a Torchwood feel. It was like such like a horrifying end. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought of that as well.
But I thought that was like a properly, particularly in the shower, I thought that was a really disturbing moment where he's just like, the water stops and all of a sudden it's just coming out of him. Yeah.
I would like to have seen more of the domestic scenes between him and Kate. Yeah.
That's the sex we want.
But yeah, that's the sex we want. Damn it, it's the sex we need. No, I think
the war between the sex and the editing suite.
Yeah. I think it was sad, but I think it could have been sadder. Like, and again, I think this is just because like it's just the gaps. It's the gaps between like storytelling, and it's like by the time it comes around again, you'd kind of forgotten, and you'd be like, oh yeah, they're together, they're shagging, they're having a good time, and there was a really nice moment after he died. And I think if we'd have had more moments, if we'd have had more moments like that, it would have, I think, been more impactful. There's a moment where Shirley says to Kate, and she goes, I just wanted to say, by the way, we were really happy for you. And it's really simple, like really, really simple moment. But I think if we'd have had more stuff like that prior, it would have been more impactful, or just kind of had, I mean, he took a bullet for her. That is sad.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I just felt, and it was very focused on her and her reaction. I felt like he got a bit sideswept at that moment. It's like he's been shot, but we're very much focused on her and her feelings, which I get. But but it was interesting. I think they're more interested in kind of Kate's story, aren't they? And like how love just can't fit in her world at present. Like she's giving kind of vibes of, I just get this connection between her and the Doctor. There's this Doctor energy of like how they did with Tennant, and it's like Donna just being like, you've got to stop, you're killing yourself, you can't keep doing this the way you are. And there's a similar storyline going with Kate, where it's like, Kate, you're brilliant at what you do, but you're also no help to anyone, because like everything she does you can argue is the right decision. I think like everything she attempts to do you can argue is the right decision, but actually, like, what's the result of this series? As she says, it's kind of like we should be ashamed of all of ourselves. Yeah, you should. You've basically failed. Like there's been a 9 out of 10 like genocide of a particular race that happened to have habitated Earth before you were here. Like the villains arguably got what they wanted. All right, we've seen from future like forward flashbacks they're gonna get their comeuppance, but it's like in the moment they've won. They kind of the Homo Aquas like admit defeat. It's kind of like you're doing things with good intentions, Kate, but you're not. You're suffering, as well as like the results suffering as well. And I do think that it's building up a storyline to be like to explore her more, to explore like her comeuppance and how she gets through this. That moment on the beach feels like that would be a huge consequence. Do you think the Doctor would accept that? There's absolutely no chance. If he found out that Kate Lethbridge-Stewart pulled a gun out on someone, they'd be absolutely fuming. But it doesn't feel like we're going to get that consequence, which is a real shame.
No, I think Jerome, I was going to say, Jerome, you made a really good point in terms of like seeing it from her perspective, because in that relationship, a lot of it was kind of it was her decision. So like, it would be down to her if they spent time together. And you saw that kind of in the final episode with those kind of flashbacks where she's kind of haunted by his presence, and then that eventual falling out, that last scene of the two of them kind of having that disagreement, obviously leading before his death. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right with the whole with the reaction at the beach, and this is why I think we were really kind of gunning, weren't we, for like a resurgence of a Torchwood-esque kind of thing, because it's quite clear that UNIT has got legs, and I think it will definitely play a part going forwards. And I wonder as well also, I mean, we don't know the ins and outs, but it would have been interesting to see how a third series of Who would have impacted this, because I imagine there would have been some kind of knock-on effect either before or after this if we'd maybe had a third season, we didn't have that gap. But I think it's going to leave a greater. It's going to leave a greater sense of sort of. I want to say the word desire for Kate, almost to kind of like she's kind of lost someone that she held so dearly, much like the Doctor has. This is where I'm really hoping that I don't think she'd come in as like an assistant, but I feel like she needs to have a far more prominent role within the main series now, because it's quite clear, like you said, she's been there for a decade and a half, and it's only now where she's been like thrust into the forefront of it. 100%, massively, yeah. And you know, that could she could then maybe walk away from that. Maybe that would be where Torchwood would bang back, where Unit would kind of go in a different direction because she's seen what the Doctor's seen. It leaves a hell of a lot to the imagination, but I think it would just be such a shame if, after this, this next 12-month break, if we go back to things and don't tap into Kate and Unit's potential.
Sponsor.
Wild, isn't it?
It's getting retconned in 2026. Christmas special.
It was all a dream. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it raises into that bigger question of just like going, what is the 14th Doctor permitted to do? But like, as in, like, because there's like the next one of you is out there doing what you did. Like, is there this weird kind of, I don't know, I reckon something's coming our way where they're like, time, it's like Time Lord victorious, and there are actually rules, even with bi-generation there are rules, whereby one has to give way to another, even if like their physical copy exists. You cannot interfere in the laws of time the way like another version of you is. I reckon some bullshit's coming to us like that. Something that's going to be like, I don't know. The return of Rassilon again, and he's going to be like, fuck you and fuck your doppelganger.
I mean, listen,
not allowed to do anything.
I know eventually you have to say goodbye to David Tennant, but the last thing I want to see is an episode of Who where it cuts back to him having that garden party, and because he's like, both of his hearts have given out and he's just dropped dead. I don't want to see that, because that's the only way you can have it. He just has a double heart attack and it just writes him off. You
only say goodbye to David Tennant so you can say hello to him again. That's what we've learned. That's like... Yeah.
He has got his own TARDIS.
Well, he's on holiday, isn't he? That's what will happen.
Yeah,
I won't retread this now because I know we need to wrap up and stuff. It's definitely for another podcast. But I just think regeneration was once the staple of this show. Like, it was the most exciting thing. The idea of having a new person become a character you've loved so dearly. And I just think now it's killing it. Or like, it's not killing it, but it's just weighing on it. It's weighing so heavy, the idea of, there's loads of them. And it's like, it used to be the big thing. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Can I just... Sorry, Dan, no, go on.
No, I was just going to say, it just kind of makes death sort of a bit worthless in the scheme of Who, doesn't it? So, like, there's no tension, there's no real drama, there's no what's the word? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no... there's like sort of risk and reward there doesn't seem to be any. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, well, if you can split into two, and it leaves
there's just no power. Like, for example, one of the most emotional moments I've ever had watching Doctor Who genuinely was David Tennant regenerating. We were all devastated. We were all gutted. Like, him doing that whole thing was like just awful to watch. And then Matt Smith came along and was brilliant, but I just feel like it robs it. Like, I now go back and watch those episodes and go, well, it's fine. He's going to come back as like the 14th Doctor, and actually he woke up anyway and he was fine. Like, it just robs it of that absolute kind of like heartbreak, and I just think it's a shame. But the show evolves, doesn't it? And it moves forward.
Yeah, it's. I feel sorry for Russell T Davies because he's going to have a lot to solve. It's a hell of a lot. There's two last things. Oh, go on.
I was just going to say, and we've already seen in the way things have been wrapped up in the last two series, that wrap-up's probably going to happen in 5 minutes.
Well, it will be.
Do you know what I mean? Rather than get, and yeah.
Sentence. That's what it will be. Quick sentence. Oh, yeah, it's sorted. It'll be 2 words.
She shot someone. It was a fixed moment in time.
Mark my words, 12 months from now, we'll be very soon watching Billy Piper answer for the last 3 or 4 years of Who by just saying the words timey-wimey, and everyone will go, oh, isn't that great? And then it'll just be a bit of a cop-out, but it is what it is. Last 2 things of the episode, because none of us have mentioned it yet. One was where Salt says, well, we'll move to that specific part of the ocean that you've reserved for us as long as you rename what you call this place a hunting ground. And I thought that was a brutal moment. Epic.
And also, it's something that is, I think what should be taken from this series is, while it's kind of fantasy and sci-fi, is like, we do treat our oceans like shit.
Yeah.
We literally and that, I think that's what that end, That's what our ending. That's what the ending scene I think is meant to do. The power of that is like, just that laziness of just being like, oh, it doesn't matter, someone else will pick it up. And it's like, and it's like we do. And I think, was it something happened this year? Was it the big vote on kind of climate, or like for to start the drilling of the ocean, to actually like mining the seabed, which is what Trump's kind of putting into process now. And it's like you've got all those like tiny sediment rocks and things at the bottom, which have got like precious metals in them, like nickel and cobalt and things, which are used for everything, phones, tablets, whatever. And it's like they're like millions and millions of years old, and they're just going to like take them all, use them, process them. But it's like they don't just come back. You can't like plant them like trees. They've taken millions and millions of years to evolve. And I think like this is what I think this show did like raise some of the like climate concerns pretty well, in terms of our relationship to the oceans. And also like it really pushed the whole thing of we are 60% water. Like we should have more of an emotional and spiritual relationship with our environment and stuff. And yeah, I think people should talk about it. They should be talking about that more in general.
And it's such a shame as well, because you look at how like the owners or the shareholders of Thames Water have had a massive payout, despite the fact that the Thames is an absolute dumping ground of everything. You look at the Lake Districts, Lake Windermere, and you kind of see that United Utilities has been done in by that. And it's such a shame, because this show could have really have pushed that more into the public consciousness. But I think just because of the way the deal went, it's a lesser known spin-off. It's such a shame that this show maybe didn't get the attention that maybe it deserved.
Yeah,
I think if it was a 7 or even another 2 or 3 episodes, if you had like an 8 episode run, you could have explored so much more. And I think that final payoff would have ended better, in my opinion, than the long montage over Heroes, which was fine, but I don't know. It just didn't have that sucker punch that I thought he would have had, to be honest.
Just going back to something you mentioned briefly as well. The guy, I can't remember his name. It sounded a bit like Sakir, which
Ted.
I was like, okay,
sorry,
interesting. It was like Sakith or something. Where it was just a bit. There was a bit like, oh. But anyway, like that. Him being shot outside his front door. Like, I know I'm not watching Doctor Who. I'm watching something that's darker, Doctor Who. But that really caught me about, because all of a sudden I was like, fucking kid show. It's a family show. And I was like, oh no, it's not. It's like, it's the darker version. But I was like, it always, like, to be fair, that shocked me, because I was like, oh, they just shot someone outside their front door. I was like, of course. Yeah, of course. It's like a darker show. But it did shock me. Like, because I'm always thinking of Doctor Who in the back of my mind.
Did it remind you a bit of that? I can't remember the name of it, but it was that episode of Torchwood where it was the aliens and they were humans, but they could grow, their arm could become like a sword. And I remember that one scene, and it's like etched into my mind, where the family's having breakfast, the guy opens the front door, and he's just being relentlessly stabbed in front of his family. And this was nowhere near that severe, but it's that kind of line being breached from it kind of being a kid show.
Which episode was that? Sorry, my mind's just gone completely blank.
It's
an alien with. Sorry,
it was an alien character, and their arms could like turn into like these sword things, and
not the Clockwork. Because I'm thinking
this was
of the
Torchwood.
Clockwork.
This was Torchwood. Let me try and find the episode.
I'm thinking of Doctor Who. Sorry.
But this is what I mean. I think that it's kind of a similar vein to that, where it's kind of like, okay, it's definitely not Doctor Who, because again, it was a similar thing in this episode where it was so unexpected and so full on. I mean, the difference being that the guy who got stabbed to death didn't really deserve
there's an episode. I've just looked it up on Google. There's one here called Ghost Machine. Is it that episode?
Let me have a look. It was series 2, I think, of Torchwood.
Oh, can you share it?
Deeper, I think it was called. Yeah. Oh, series 1, forgive me. Thank you. But yeah, you watch that back, and it's a lot more intense, because one of the characters, I don't think she's conscious of it. Oh, well, she's a sleeper alien.
Lads, maybe we should go back and watch Torchwood while we're waiting for Doctor Who.
I'd be so happy to do that.
Maybe we should watch Children of Earth again. Can I just...
Yes.
Can I just say one thing? Just one very last thing. One of the most unrealistic things I found about this whole series was in episode 4, when they're on the bridge and he was like, bring the car to pick me up, and she turned up in a Fiat Punto. Who in 2025 is driving a Fiat Punto?
Fiat Punto, yeah.
Who is... I was like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, that's it. Immersion's dead. It's out. I'm over. It's out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Followed incredibly quickly by the highlights of the episode. You'll never swim alone! You'll never swim alone! I was like, oh, Christ, Russell.
Is that what Liverpool fans are going to change it to after the season they've had?
We're coming for you. It was.
I tell you what, he delivered it though, and credit to his performance. Like, he went for it, didn't he?
He did.
He went for it.
Right, before we wrap things up, episode scores.
I'm going to give it a 6.5. Is that allowed? 6.5 out of 10?
Yeah. It's our podcast. I think I'd give it a solid 7.
It's quite condensed, isn't it?
Yeah, that is true. I think it gives us a bit of hope, doesn't it? So when, the main show eventually comes back, hopefully we might get a bit of a blend of the silly and the serious, because I think that's what was severely lacking in hindsight. Yeah. Imagine the Christmas special just opens up with someone getting their head blown off. Merry Christmas, kids.
Or it's just I don't know, revisited episodes of all of them that are just adult themes all over the shop with all of the aliens. All we've been asking for ages is a Slitheen episode with these sorts of themes, boys.
Slitheen's coming back, getting their energy from orgasms. I think that's what the show is missing.
Yeah.
Yeah, bit of farting.
Yeah, time they orgasm, they fart.
Yeah. Should we wrap this up? All right. Thank you very much for watching and for listening to Who Doesn't Have a Podcast. We'll be back at some point to do something else. Now we've got another huge break on our hands. Also want to give a massive shout out because I only found out the other day that C's dad has started watching and listening to this. So Bob, if you're watching, thank you for listening and for watching. Catch us on all the socials at Who Doesn't. He might be, yeah. It's going to be a very cold Christmas. Speaking of which, follow us on all the socials, please. If you've got any ideas, any comments, please let us know. We'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on the War Between the Land and the Sea as a whole. And on behalf of all of us, a very, very Merry Christmas, and we will see you at some point in 2026.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.